If your business plan is based solely on buying off-market apartment deals, I got news for you. The competition is smoking you. Let's go! Before we get started, let me point out that this video is based on those investors who buy apartment complexes that are over 10 units and primarily over 25 units. So there's no need to blow up my comment thread on deals that you've bought off market for single family homes, duplexes, quadruplexes, and eightplexes. I know that off market deal making is a little more frequent in that world. Let's define what off market is. Off market is when an apartment complex is not being publicly marketed on public listing websites or email blasted to thousands and thousands of random investors all over the world. I'm going to show you in this video why the phrase off market was probably some phrase invented by brokers a million years ago to make investors feel special, feel like they were the only ones that one property was brought to. From a seller's perspective in the larger apartment world, it doesn't make any sense to expose their asset to just one human being on the planet. And the reason? Scarcity. Let me give you an example. I work in the Florida market, which is arguably one of the top 5 states in the US for multifamily trades. The stats I'm about to give you on scarcity in the Florida markets I cover exist in almost all markets. As of December 2020, right now, going back the trailing 24 months, which is probably the hottest sale market ever in terms of the number of trades, looking at the entire northern half of Florida, not including Orlando or Tampa, there were only 270 apartment complex sales over 10 units. And that includes all market rate deals, student housing, and affordable housing. That equates to only 11 deals per month. If you were a group that only bought deals that were over 100 units, during that same 24-month period, there were only 5 sales per month in the entire northern half of Florida. That scarcity number only continues to go down if you only buy market rate deals, or you only buy deals of a certain age range, or you only buy deals in certain locations. Now, let me explain why the phrase off market doesn't really exist in the way in which you think it does. There are 4 types of sales. Number 1, we'll call exclusive listing public. This is when a seller calls up a broker, gives them the exclusive listing with an actual written agreement, and asks them to publicly market or mass market the listing to tens of thousands of investors. The idea is to get the very best offer from the very best buyer through a mass market approach. This type of offering, percentage-wise, is probably the most frequent offering that exists. The second type of offering we'll call exclusive listing private. This is when a seller hires a broker with an actual exclusive listing agreement, but only wants the deal privately marketed, not put on a bunch of websites, and not randomly emailed to tens of thousands of people. In terms of the number of deals like this, while it's not as much as the exclusive listing public, it's pretty darn close in the larger apartment world. And with today's technology and CRM database advances, most brokers have databases of buyers that they can privately contact that rival even what a listing website could produce. What I mean is that a broker's ability to privately contact hundreds of investors has become quite easy. The third type is what we'll call the non-exclusive seller. This is when a seller contacts a number of brokers, or a number of brokers contact the same seller, and the seller has agreed to a certain price to sell at and a fee to pay the broker, but won't give any brokers the exclusive. This type of offering is a little more rare because it does devalue the property sometimes. What happens is it creates confusion in the market because no one knows who actually has control of the listing or whether the seller has committed to actually selling it. In this type of offering, you could have a number of brokers, those who actually try to work on something without an exclusive, out there talking to buyers. Simultaneously, the seller themselves could also be talking directly to buyers. The fourth type of offering we'll call off-market direct. And this is usually when a buyer calls a broker and engages them to specifically go after a certain property that's not on the market, or it could be a buyer who calls a seller directly to try to offer off-market. In those scenarios, though, it is more likely than not that that buyer is paying at least market value or more for the right to buy that asset without having to compete with other investors. You see, in the larger apartment world, most of these sellers are pretty savvy. They know their asset is hot. They know it's worth a lot. They know they could get multiple offers if they went out. And so in exchange for even remotely entertaining an off-market deal, the price has to be good enough for them to not have to go out to market. Now, I know there are examples out there in which a buyer was able to acquire an asset from a seller for a discount off the market value if it were exposed to the market. Those are extremely rare deals. The investor who concentrates on only doing off-market deals versus other investors who go after all deals, whether they're on the market or not, the latter will outperform the off-market guy by multiples over a long career. There are exceptions to the rule. I know investors who it's just part of their DNA. They have to feel like they're getting a discount or buying directly from a seller. And that's totally cool. I respect that. But the very best investors, the ones who are buying numerous deals per year, are going after every listing on the market, both those that are public and those that are off market. I'll close on these 2 points. Number one, it is highly unlikely that when a deal is presented to you as off-market, or you think you've found an off-market listing, that there probably aren't already dozens and dozens of investors that are currently looking at it or have already looked at it. And point number two, be aggressive and open to looking at every single deal that comes on the market, whether it's public or off-market. Thanks for taking a listen. Give me a like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one.